You've got to walk before you can run. And last night, the Rangers did a whole lot of walking, and as a result, scored a whole lot of runs.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers, the first and best daily Rangers podcast. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan, covering this team for 12 seasons, including all 7 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, on today's show, we're talking about this offense, the most patient day they've had all season. If this is maybe a sign of things to come, Nathan Eovaldi's incredible day, and we'll also talk about Josh Jung's first game of the season in AAA. But this game was fantastic. What an incredibly different game than what the Rangers played on Monday, and heck, a very different game than what they did on Sunday or even on Friday of last week, because this offense looked incredible and incredibly different. They were doing it in ways that even when they were pouring it on for those 16-run games in Minnesota, this is not something that they did then. This Rangers team worked 9 walks. 9 walks in a game against a pitching staff that, only 2 actual pitchers threw in this one. And then the reverse 3-inning save, the 3-inning opposite of a save from Kevin Newman, a position player pitching for the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. I don't know that I've ever seen that, but this bullpen is apparently just done and dusted. I'm surprised the Rangers weren't able to get another actual pitcher in there, but the Rangers absolutely tattooed the 2 actual pitchers, and heck, even the non-pitcher that the Angels threw out there for 13 runs. Not just 13 runs, 13 unanswered runs. Because after that first unearned run that Nathan Eovaldi gave up in the first inning, he was absolutely nails. We'll talk about him later on in the show, but this offense, the first time through the order, just did not do all that much. They talked a little bit after the game about the shadows in Angel Stadium being just a little bit hard to see. It made Jose Soriano a little bit difficult to see the ball out of his hand, and thus led to quite a few strikeouts at pitches outside the zone. But on yesterday's show, if you listened, I implored this Rangers team to just work a walk. I read a journal entry from my 2001 self talking trash about this kid, Ronald Morgan, in this book, who could not swing at baseballs very good. And it kind of reminded me of this Rangers offense, of some terrible swing decisions. And this game featured so much more good swing decisions. I'm not saying it's all my fault. I'm just saying maybe it's not entirely not my fault. But this team working so many walks, including that 4th inning where the Rangers had some really high quality at bats. I mean, getting back-to-back walks to lead off the game, and then an Adolis Garcia lineup that had an 890 expected batting average. That batted ball luck came back in droves with the 2 doubles that the Rangers scored 3 combined runs from. One from Wyatt Langford, a double right down the line at third base on the ground that scored a couple of runs, and then Evan Carter, a double with an expected batting average of .020, just barely inside that line, and just hopped right over the fence for a ground rule double. And the Rangers just continued to get those hits with runners in scoring position, not just working a bunch of walks, but getting those big hits, with runners in scoring position, with runners with the bases loaded, getting extra base hits with multiple runners on. That is something this team has not done. That is how you break things open, and that's how you score 5 runs in the 4th and 4 runs in the 5th, and then pour on another run per inning all the way through the 8th. Didn't end up scoring in the 9th inning, but this team just kept on pouring on, giving themselves even more cushion and doing something that they hadn't done for this bullpen, of just take the pressure off. Take the pressure off starting pitchers as well, so that every pitch they throw doesn't have to be perfect. Now, a lot of the ones that Nathan Eovaldi did throw were perfect, but also just seeing the slug in this game, some really quality at-bats, including by Evan Carter, who only had 1 walk in this one, only had 1 hit in this one, but they were both incredibly big time. 3 RBIs for the center fielder. And that walk that I mentioned, oh, by the way, it was against a lefty. That is something that I talked about on yesterday's show as well, is that Evan Carter, he's not going to see that many plate appearances against lefties. He's just not, especially not starting pitchers that are lefties. He's almost never going to start against lefties. The only times that he's going to really face lefties is when the Rangers are up big, or it's a tie game. They want to keep his bat in there. He's got 11 at-bats against lefties so far this year. He has as many walks as strikeouts. He's got a 357 on-base percentage. Granted, he has a 182 slugging percentage and 182 batting average because he has just a couple of singles in those 11 at-bats, one of which was one of those 3 strikeouts came today, also against a lefty on a fastball down the middle that maybe he should have swung at. But the at-bats have been so much more competitive from Evan Carter, and working a bases-loaded walk against a lefty with 2 outs. That is a huge show of confidence in Evan Carter. And Wyatt Langford just making significantly better swing decisions, even from his first at bat till later on in this game. He had a couple of RBI extra base hits, including that big 2 RBI double to kind of give the Rangers that lead right there. The first runs the Rangers scored, and then Evan Carter adding on, not just saying, hey, 2 runs and we're good, but also this team having a comeback win. I know it was technically just down 1 run, but this team has had the worst offense while trailing. They have had a 560 something OPS as a team when they were losing coming into this game. I talked about that on yesterday's show, and it was just 2 runs was just an impossible deficit for this team. And 1 run thankfully wasn't. 13 runs for the Angels, definitely an impossible deficit, but just seeing everyone get in on this action. I mean, not just Wyatt Langford, not just Evan Carter, but Jake Berger, who had a really tough day yesterday, and 0 for 4 with a trio of strikeouts. The 1 run that he ended up scoring was him getting on base after a strikeout that was so bad on a pitch that was outside the dirt. But Jake Berger, a 3-hit, 4 RBI day, including a big fly off of Kevin Newman, who gave up, just 2 home runs, but 4 extra base hits. Most of those coming, actually all those coming when the game was very much decided. But Wyatt Langford getting in on that action after that 2 RBI double, a massive, massive bomb, which is just kind of funny to see Taylor Ward out there in left field deke like he was going to go get it, and it ends up 430 plus feet into those left center field stands. Absolutely no chance at him getting that. But Adolis Garcia working a multi-walk day. Jonah Heim's first multi-walk day of the season. Those are big, big signs that it's not just the top of this order that has been coming through, but all the way up and down this lineup, including a Kyle Higashioka RBI single that when this game was still very much in the balance. This team, seeing them pour on, seeing them just improve their at-bats day after day, and seeing them show a little bit of that killer instinct. We'll talk about that and Nathan Eovaldi's great day right after this. This show is brought to you by OpenPhone. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had a service emergency, like a burst pipe. If the first plumber didn't answer, did you wait? No, absolutely not. You called the next one. That's why having a reliable business line is so important, and that's why you need OpenPhone. OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system that helps you streamline and scale customer communication, all from an app on your phone or computer. Did you juggle 2 phones just to keep business and personal calls separate? OpenPhone solves that instantly. Your whole team can share one number and respond to customers like a shared inbox. No more, who's handling this? OpenPhone is offering our Locked On Rangers listener 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedonmlb. That's openphone.com/lockedonmlb. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone. No missed calls, no missed customers. Shout out to the everydayers making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On tomorrow's show, we'll be talking about Game 3 of this series. If the Rangers can start a winning streak, another hopefully good day for Kumar Rocker, whose last start against the Angels was absolutely fantastic. I'll be talking about that on tomorrow's show as well. Hopefully the Rangers can continue their offensive dominance against Kyle Hendricks, who has just not been particularly stunning this year. Maybe that can hopefully continue for this Texas Rangers team that showed a killer instinct, and that was just going for the throat when a pitcher's on the ropes. It felt almost uncomfortable watching Aldegari come out there for a second inning. It was really funny, and not as much funny as just kind of I don't know, maybe awe-inspiring to see him come out there in the sixth inning or in the fifth inning, and he had thrown 43 pitches in that inning. And to that point, Nathan Eovaldi through 4 innings had thrown 43 pitches as well. So Aldegari needed as many pitches as Evo had thrown the entire night to get through 4 to just get through that 1 inning. And I'm honestly concerned for that kid. I mean, giving up those 5 runs, and it was not particularly competitive towards the end there. I mean, he was able to rear back and get 92 on the gun to get Evan Carter with a called strike 3. And if Evan Carter just swung at that pitch, it could have been an even worse day. He could have not gotten out of that inning, and they would have had to throw another pitcher, which would have been nice. But the Rangers getting Soriano out of this game after 4 innings, right after they did not get Yusei Kikuchi out of the game, after 3 innings of very high-stress baseball, and he was able to cruise through the 4th inning and mainly cruise to the 5th inning. So the Angels bullpen, even though they had to throw 4 innings in that first game of the series, they only had to throw, 2 innings of an actual reliever in this one. But when the pitcher is on the ropes, going for the throat and working those pitches, not chasing out of your shoes, not wanting to say, oh, well, this guy's on the ropes, I'm going to go ahead and swing out of my shoes so I can, pound him for a home run or an extra base hit. If he doesn't have command of those pitches, if he does not have a feel for the strike zone, which Jose Soriano didn't, he threw 5 walks in 4 innings, and Aldegari had 4 walks in 2 innings. This team was just absolutely taking all of their walks in this one, and just learning from the at-bat before. That was one of the things that the Rangers' new hitting coach was talking about, of not being stuck on your iPad, not being stuck in your own world, of just watching the game. Brett Boone said, hey, get off your iPad, see what's going on with this pitcher. So you can tell if he's on the ropes, if he's got a particular pitch working, and learning from the at-bat before you. So this can continue to be a team game. And if a guy is on the ropes, if he does not have a feel for the strike zone, don't swing at pitch 1. Don't swing out of your shoes. Just take it. Take a strike. Take 2, even if he is this on the ropes, like these two pitchers were in this one. The Rangers, credit to them for learning from each other and for building off of those at-bats and saying, okay, well, this guy is in a rough way, and I am going to force you to figure it out or get crushed and get out of this game. That is something this team hasn't really had this year, and it's something that's going to be, it's important, especially in postseason series, but especially in these 4-game series. If you can get into the bullpen, deep into the bullpen early in a series, you've got a much better chance of winning late on in games and, having negative ramifications for a team that the Rangers are neck and neck with in this wild card hunt. If the Rangers can force them to use a lot of their bullpen arms, it doesn't just affect them in this series, it affects them in series to come and just over the long haul of the season, of just forcing these guys to throw a lot of pitches. These Rangers hitters have not been patient this year. They have not done a good job of working walks. Jonah Heim has been incredibly impatient this year. Evan Carter and Wyatt Langford have done their job of being patient. We've seen a lot more patience actually from Corey Seager. This is near the career high walk rate. Actually, no, this is a career high walk rate, even more than his first little stint in the big leagues in 2015. I mean, this is significantly higher than his career. He's walking at 13% so far this season. He's averaged 9.5% walk rate, where the league average is 8.5%. He has been working a lot of walks, and part of that is because the rest of this Rangers offense isn't doing all that much. And Corey Seager has been exceptional for the last 24 games so far, basically since really the last couple of weeks. He has been absolutely turning it on, but the opposing pitchers want absolutely nothing to do with him. But you got to give him credit for actually working those walks, something that he hadn't done as well early on this season. But he's also done a good job of hitting against lefties as well. This was something that that Corey Seager had done well in 2023, really struggled against lefties last year, and honestly really struggled against lefties early parts of this year. But so far this season, he has been, in the last couple of weeks, he's kind of turned it a lot around. He's got 5 homers against lefties so far this season, a 760 OPS, where I believe about a couple of weeks ago it was around 600 or below that. The strikeout rate is still not ideal against lefties, but it's not terrible. It's only his OPS against lefties is only 100 points lower than it is against righties. So he has been doing a lot more damage against lefties this year than he was last year. And that's part of what makes Corey Seager so good, is that it doesn't matter what type of pitch, doesn't matter what arm you throw with, it doesn't matter where the pitch is. Corey Seager can crush it when he's at his best. And that is what he is looking like right now. But you know who else is at their best last night? Nathan freaking Eovaldi. 6 innings of just 1-run baseball. And the only run that he gave up was on that 2-base error that Josh Smith allowed the leadoff runner to get in the first inning. And it ended up coming on a bloop single by Nolan Shanuel, who was the only Angels hitter who reached base multiple times in that game last night. But Nathan Eovaldi just going for the throat in this one with that big old lead. He just attacked hitters. And until it was a big old lead, until it was even a lead, he kept his team in this game. He was very economical with his pitch count, still working that pitch count up. He's going to have one more start before the All-Star break. He was supposed to go around 80, 85 pitches in this one, so that in his final game before the All-Star break, the final game for the Rangers before the All-Star break against those Houston Astros, which is going to be a huge, huge start, he'd be built up to about 100 pitches. But because the Rangers had him sit for so long, I think that's part of what led to the Rangers throwing Dane Dunning for a couple of perfect innings from Dane Dunning, who lowered his season ERA down to 2.70. He might just stick as this Rangers long man for the rest of this season. That is an important role for this team. Caleb Bosley had played that role for a little bit, and he did a decent job. The Rangers ended up only sending him back down to the minor leagues because the Rangers needed a fresh arm, because they had used him so much, because they had been so desperate for those innings. But Nathan Eovaldi coming there and using that splitter to just absolutely abuse Mike Trout. I mean, the most impressive at bat was against Mike Trout. I believe it was the second or third time that he had faced him. He goes down 3-0 to Mike Trout and then throws splitter for a strike. 3-1, splitter, called strike looking. Full count, splitter again at the knees, a perfect pitch and the perfect epitome of Nathan Eovaldi. Going down 3-0 and then throwing 3 straight splitters, all for called strikes, all for, well, the 3-0 pitch was not a quality strike. It was right down the middle, but Mike Trout was absolutely taking it. And Nathan Eovaldi, credit to him, does not walk anybody, which is very Nathan Eovaldi-like, and he would have been incredibly frustrated with himself if he walked anybody in this game, especially with such a monumentous lead. But Nathan Eovaldi was absolutely dealing in this one, and he had basically all of his pitches working. At times, it seemed like the curveball wasn't quite working as well. He did throw a slider in this one, not something that he typically throws. But again, it looked like vintage Nathan Eovaldi. I mean, he threw 23 splitters, led with that splitter, and then threw the cutter the next most times. And the fastball still down a little bit velocity-wise from where it had been on the season, averaging 93 as opposed to 94. So he's still very much building that velocity back up, which he kind of had before he went on the IL. I mean, he was averaging 95 miles an hour, a little bit above that at times. I think he ticked all the way up to 98 in his penultimate start before hitting the IL in that 1-inning outing. I mean, he's looking a lot more like Nathan Eovaldi and getting him built back up. And I thought he might get one more inning to get that much closer to being among the league qualifiers, which right now he would be leading all of baseball with his ERA. Coming up, we're talking a little bit about Josh Jung's first game in AAA. We're going to talk a little bit about the All-Star game and a futures game participant who has been having some interesting moments defensively as of late. All that and more right after this. This show is brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golfing on the green, or high stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. They got all kinds of odds right now. Let's take a look at their World Series odds. Who is the favorite? I bet you can't guess. No, you probably can't guess. It is the Los Angeles Dodgers, but in the American League, the Tigers favored at plus 700, the second best odds to win it all. The awards races right now, Aaron Judge is pretty much a runaway in the American League for the MVP. Shohei Ohtani is a runaway in the National League for the MVP, but Jacob deGrom sitting there at plus 1,200, the fourth best odds for the AL Cy Young. They've got all kinds of other odds, all kinds of different sports. So go check out all the action on FanDuel.com. If you're new customers can bet $5 and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Shout out to the Everydayers making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. After every single game, Jeff Biggs is with you with the Locked On Rangers postcast, talking about every single game, weekdays, weeknights, West Coast, East Coast, it does not matter. Jeff Biggs is there in your Locked On Rangers podcast feeds, wherever you get your podcasts, and on YouTube as well. But the Rangers also got some quality pitching from their ERA leader, the guy who has pitched now 3 times and is maybe on his way to be considered a two-way player. That is Zeke Duran. 3 innings pitched, just 1 hit allowed so far this year. And there's just something supremely silly about watching a guy who has been clocked at 95 plus miles an hour, all the way up to 98, maybe even 100 miles an hour. I know he's at least thrown 98 miles an hour on some outfield assists. The strongest arm on the team, at least among position players. And he goes in there and he starts chucking ephuses at 38 miles an hour. I mean, this is just... it gives me such supreme joy to watch the silliness of baseball. I'm sure Angels fans didn't care for it, of being down 12 runs in the 9th inning. And you see this guy come out there and he's chucking just absolute garbage, and the Angels aren't doing a darn thing with it. But Zeke Duran has been honestly very effective. His max pitch speed as a position player pitching 42.6 miles an hour, averaged 39 miles an hour of just the silliest, goofiest ephuses that you may have possibly ever seen in a Texas Rangers baseball game. But this was just a display of the Rangers needing somebody to eat some innings. I mean, Dane Dunning come in there and pitching only 2 innings, I mean, not throwing a whole lot of pitches in that one. He probably could have thrown a few more. Dane Dunning might have gone for his third 3-inning save of the season. It is not something we have seen very often. I believe Jacob Latz is the only other one with a 3-inning save. Actually, no, I know Caleb Bosley has had one, but the Rangers could have had another 3-inning save in a blowout game. But alas, Dane Dunning did not do that. He has been quietly very effective for this Rangers bullpen. I mean, he's pitched 4 times in 3 different games. He's got 10 innings under his belt, 9 strikeouts, does have a few more walks than you would particularly like, but him coming back in this one and throwing 2 perfect innings and getting some strikeouts to go with it, that is a great sign for Dane Dunning, not just for now, but for maybe next year. Because, I mean, the Rangers, when they DFA'd him, he is no longer an arbitration player. He is just going to be a free agent at the end of the season. He's gone up and down a couple of times, but he is just very effective in this one. And this is what games against the freaking Angels should look like. This is what you should do to teams that are inferior to you. You should absolutely beat their brains in and have to worry about, which long reliever are we going to throw, and for how many innings, and which one of our starters are we going to pinch hit for late in this game just to get them off their feet. I mean, Seager and Simeon seemed like obvious candidates there. I mean, only 4 plate appearances for Seager in this one, and they brought in the pinch hitter Duran to play shortstop and then to be that 2-way player. I mean, there haven't been a whole lot of shortstops that have gotten Mike Trout jammed on a pitch to fly out to the shallow outfield grass. And, Zeke Duran is just one of one, man. But he has been playing a lot of third base, a position that has been vacated by the guy who we thought was going to be the everyday starter at third base. And well, for most of the season, he was. But Josh Jung playing his first game in Round Rock last night went 2 for 5 with a double, a single, and an ugly strikeout to end the game. The double came on a fastball right down the middle, 99 miles an hour, absolutely laced the single. Came off of a lefty. Good to see him hitting some singles off of lefties, a decent plate appearance, but still had quite a bit of chase in his game, including the final plate appearance of the night for anybody in a one-run game. Josh Jung did a good job of taking a couple of pitches, one of which was borderline, was not called a strike, one of which was borderline and was called a strike, then swung at a couple of changeups that were in the dirt to strike out for the final out of that game. Josh Jung is there to just get his head right. He has been a guy who, mentally has had his head on tight very, very well early on in his career. He has suffered a lot of setbacks, most of which were unlucky. This is just kind of his own doing. I mean, he's had a lot of injuries early on in his major league and minor league career. He would have been called up about a year and a half earlier, if not for a foot injury. Then in spring training, he had a shoulder injury. He had a broken thumb in 2023. He had a broken wrist last year that just basically destroyed his entire season. And then this year, his plate discipline, his approach has just completely abandoned him from the month of June on. I mean, he wasn't a bad hitter. He was a solid average hitter the first 2 months of the season. And then whatever happened when the calendar turned to June, he just absolutely lost it. And hopefully he can just go to AAA, just have some low stress plate appearances in a very good hitting environment and just get those swing decisions right. That, I think, is the most important thing for Josh Jung, who is an important part of this team moving forward. Now, there are some legitimate questions about who is going to play third base long term. And right now, it's not looking like it's Josh Jung. It might be Josh Smith, but how long he is going to actually stay there, we'll see. Because coming up, we thought that this infield was going to be spoken for positionally for the next 3-4 years or so. I mean, Corey Seager's under contract for a long time. Marcus Semien is under contract for a long time. And, well, Jake Berger still hasn't hit arbitration. And Josh Jung was an all-star 2 years ago. And the thought was, okay, well, Sebastian Walcott is this shortstop prospect who the Rangers have coming up. We'll see where he ends up playing long-term. Maybe he makes the move to the outfield, but he's been playing a lot more third base as of late. He played some third base last year, but lately, I mean, in the month of July, he's played 3 out of his 5 games at third base, trying to get his reps there a little bit more. Offensively, has been a little quiet as of late. I mean, in the month of June, he didn't have a single home run, still doesn't have one in the month of July. He was absolutely on fire in May. And again, it's helpful to remember that he is still a teenager in Double A. I mean, he turned 19 in March of this year. He is not, he should not be on the cusp of the big leagues. And I feel like maybe he's putting a little bit of pressure on himself to come up and be that savior. I mean, even though he didn't, hit a home run in the month of June, he did still have a very good on-base percentage. It feels like these pitchers are getting a little bit scared of him. He had 19 walks in 109 plate appearances in June, a 367 OBP. But the batting average was not particularly good. The strikeout rate was fine. I mean, 22 strikeouts to 19 walks is a pretty good strikeout to walk ratio. He also got caught stealing 4 times. He was very aggressive on the base paths in the month of June, but hit just 239. The power is definitely there. I mean, he's still hitting the ball incredibly hard. In the month of July, it has been a slog for him. Again, it's only 5 games, but he's hitting just 136 with a 208 on base percentage and seems to be pushing just that little bit more. Again, he's still incredibly young, and even if he struggles from now until the end of the season and he starts next year again in Double A, he's still going to be, 2-3 years younger than the average Double A player. He is still a little bit of a ways away, but the thought of Sebastian Walcott as the Rangers' long-term third baseman, the ceiling there is definitely higher than what Josh Jung's is, even Josh Jung's at his peak. But I mean, we'll see exactly where Sebastian Walcott fits in defensively. We are still a long way away from that, of Sebastian Walcott even getting to AAA with the month of June that he just had, with the month of July that he's been having so far. He's still got some things to work out. He's still got to tap into that power more consistently in games. I mean, just lifting the ball, elevating the ball, making a little bit better swing decisions, of just facing pitchers that have a better idea of the strike zone, and hopefully having a lineup where he's not the only guy that scares opposing pitchers, and he can actually get some pitches to hit, because it seemed like in the month of June, and honestly a little bit in the first couple of weeks of the season when I was watching him, he was not really getting a whole lot of pitches to hit. The rest of the hitters in Double-A Frisco are fine, but not nearly the same caliber of him. I mean, he's 19 in Double-A, and that is 5.1 years younger than the average Double-A position player in the Texas League. I mean, he is just so incredibly advanced, well beyond where we thought he would be at this point when the Rangers signed him a couple of years back. He has been delivering for the most part, and overall on the season, his numbers are fine. I mean, he's 715 OPS. It's not particularly impressive. He's got 16 doubles and 8 home runs in 76 games so far this season. The on base is just one tick below 340. That's solid. That is incredibly solid. And the walk rate has been, better than 10%. I think it's at 12, 15%, just looking at the math off the top of my head. 342 plate appearances, 43 walks. That is a very, very good walk rate. And that is a better walk rate than I thought we'd see at this point. He's still pushing, I think, a little bit at times. He's still not seeing a whole lot of pitches to hit. And when he's seeing them, he may be just missing them. But still, overall, an impressive appearance, impressive Double-A debut season. Not quite what he did in those 6 games in that playoff stretch in 2024, but still very, very impressive for a kid that is so incredibly young and may be helping this offense long term. Not quite yet, but heck, if this offense has any more games like they did, or just hopefully a lot more games like they did last night, they won't be needing Sebastian Walcott's help for quite some time. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank you all so much for listening and subscribing. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.